Do you ever need a simple inventory system? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a simple inventory system in Google Sheets with a simple list of inventory here, current inventory levels, and then the total that's been added and removed. And you can simply add or remove here in this tab, and then it reflects automatically here with the current inventory. I'll also show you the basics of putting together a simple inventory report. So let's jump right in. So first of all, we have this tab called inventory. You can call it whatever you like. And then we're just going to create some things here. Go ahead and some color there. So item name, and then we want current level or current quantity, and then add and remove. And so you can set these up however you like. You can change these colors if you want that kind of visual identifier. So then in here, we can just do things like item 1, item 2, and so forth. And if we drag these down, we get to item 10. So you can do as many items as you need to. And then we'll fill in these formulas here in a moment. But let's go ahead and set up this inventory change. And so you can call this whatever you like, inventory log. Maybe we'll change it to inventory log here. So what we're going to set up this with is a date and then that item name. And then we're going to do an add remove selection here, the quantity that was adjusted, and then we'll leave a spot here for notes. And so let's go ahead and change this as well. I'm going to make this teal or something. You can use whatever colors you like here. And align those. All right. I'll make that notes a little wider. And so let's add some drop downs on here. So first of all, I'm going to do a date picker. And so I'm selecting this just by clicking on this A, and then I'm holding down Control and clicking on this for cell. And so what that is doing is unselecting A1. And then I can do drop down, and it's not going to affect that first cell. So I'm going to do is valid date. I'm going to do reject input. That's typically a good idea just to prevent some data that you do not want showing up in there. Next, let's do item name. I'm going to adjust this to 150 width just for the sake of that, and add rule here, and then drop down. I'm going to do drop down from a range. Now, what I want to do here though is, because sometimes this may not be in alphabetical order, it's just easier to process in alphabetical order. So I'm going to actually use this helper tab, and all I'm going to do here is just sort these items. And so I'm going to remove the and range. So it's just A2 to A. And what this is going to do is make sure it's sorted. Now, obviously with some of those numbers, it's a little goofy, but that's just the way that works. So we're going to go ahead and let's get this drop down from range done real quick. Select that range. And again, I like just doing arrows. You guys can do chips if you like, and then reject input, and we're good there. We can hide this. And so now we have date, item name, and then we need to change this to add remove drop down. So as long as it's still up, I can do add rule. Otherwise, I can go back here and do drop down. So I'll do add rule, and then drop down. I'm just going to do add or remove. And then again, advanced options, I'm going to change to arrow like that. And then we're good there. And so if you want this header row to remain visible, we're just going to drag this down. Whenever you see the hand, you can drag it down one. And now it stays visible as you drag down. So that's how we get our inventory log. And so let's go ahead and just log one here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and rewind here and put one, let's say some starting inventory or something like that. And then let's do a starting inventory for item 1. And let's just do 1,000. So we could add some for a couple of them if we want. And then 2 and 3. And then we can center these if you prefer that look. Up to you, whatever look you like there. Some people like centered, some people don't. Something like that. Let me go ahead and change this just to add that comma there for the decimal or for the thousand separation. Usually makes it a little easier to tell what's going on. All right, so that's good for this one. And so let's go ahead and add some formulas in here to get that pulled in. And so let's go ahead and put in a sum ifs formula here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our quantity And then we'll compare our item name, which I believe is A2, and then just make sure this is add. And so that's the total that's been added. And then we can just copy this, paste it, and then we're just going to change this to remove. And then it's up to you as well. You can turn this into a minus if you prefer those to show up as a minus. And so let's just say we add another one here for item 1 and a remove. We could do 500. And so we can decide if you want it to show up as minus 500 here. And that's also a thought here. You can get rid of the add remove and just do plus and negative here. So for example, you could just do, instead of 500, do negative 500. So people like entering these in different ways, and you can kind of choose as you like. So we'll go ahead and run forward. Let's just do this for now. And then on this one, we'll just do the add plus the remove. And so we can just drag these down. And so that works there. If you don't like seeing these zeros, what we could do is just say if A2 equals to blank, we'll just do 2 commas, which means do nothing. So you may have seen this like this, but we can just leave it blank like that. That works fine. And then A2 equals blank. And do one here. And then let's drag this down. And perfect. So the formula is still there, as you can see, but it won't do anything until you put item name. So it just makes it a little cleaner look. All right, so that is good to go on this one. So now if we do another inventory item, let's say an item 2, for example. So we had 1,500. So let's say we took 1,000 out. Go back over here. You can see we added 1,500, removed 1,000, and so we're left with 500. All right, so that is it for this simple inventory system. So for the rest of the video, I'm just going to quickly show you how to build a simple inventory report, and then we'll wind this down. So let me go ahead and show you this. I got this template here. I didn't want to take the time to build this on camera. And so if you just want to kind of start from here, you can go ahead, check out the link in the description below, and you can download this template. But basically, I'll give you the basic gist of this. And so I have each one of these merged cells. And so you can merge cells just by selecting. Let me go down here. So like if you're creating a new section, right, you can just take 4, you can merge them right here. And so this could be, so here we go to inventory A11, which is here. And so if you're adding item 11, for example, then you could go here and then this would be 12. So you do that, or you could take this, copy this formula, and then come down in here, double click, and then adjust. And so you keep adding more in that way. And then these you can just kind of copy down. So one thing you could do, let's go ahead and remove this. Let's say you want to add some more items here real quick. You could, for example, just insert some new rows here. And then you could just copy and paste these in like this. And then all you have to do is go through and go 10. And this one would be 11. This one would be 12. And so if we already got here, we could just adjust that. And 13. So that'd be how you could add a couple more. If you're adding a bunch, you could just do that as well. So let's go ahead and jump in and look at these formulas. And so what I'm going to assume here for the start, and so I have start, how many were added, how many removed, and the ending number for each month. So for the start, I'm going to use a sum ifs, kind of like we did in the inventory. And I'm just going to go straight to the inventory log. And I'm going to look at this quantity. And then let's go ahead and do the date first. And so the date would be everything before that January. And so I'm just going to do less than or equals to, or just less than. And then E5. So you can't really, there it is, E5. And I'll show you how I made those dates here in a second. So next, let's get the rest of the stuff we need. So we need to make sure we match this item number or item name. And so we'll match it there. And then the final thing is to make sure this is add. And so let's go ahead and do that. So we have now 1,000. Now one thing to make sure is, let's say last year we had add and remove. We're going to want to make sure we subtract those. And so I'm going to do this sum ifs, but then I'm going to do minus everything with remove. And so if we had, for example, this item 1, if this got rewound to December 31, then our starting would be 500. So let me lock these real quick. I'm just going to hit F4 as I click on each of these references here. And then on these, so this E5 is referencing that. I want to change, not in this case actually, but so we'll just leave that for now. The C6, I want it to remain C. I want the 6 to move. I'm going to add $1 sign. So that whatever the dollar sign is going to prevent what's immediately after from changing. And so what I want to do actually in this is do a before the 5. So let's do the same thing over here. Lock, 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 and lock, and then come back here. And then the C6, we just want the C because we don't want to go from this column. And then for the dates, we don't want it moved from 5. So we're not going to do the autofill. It's not going to correctly determine at this moment. So let's go ahead and now let's take just this first formula and we're going to modify it for our add. So let me put a equals in front of that. And so this isn't quite what we want because we want everything in January, not everything before January. And so instead of this minus or less than this date. And so let me show you real quick what we got going on here. So I have the year date here, and this is designed so you can change the date just by typing in here. And so we can jump in here. And so what I have here is these are actually dates. And so if I change this to a date format, you'll see that. And so what I do here is just a formula. So transpose takes it from up and down and makes it go across. But basically like what I have here is an array formula. Those don't look right because it's not date. Let's go to date there. So I'm using this array formula and then a date formula or function. And then I grab that year, so C3, and then a sequence. So sequence just does 1 through 12 in this case, because it just does however many that I have. So it's doing 1 through 12, and then the first of the month. So what this does then is it takes the year, and then it repeats it for each month with the first of the month. And so that's how we end up with that. And then transpose turns this going down into going across. And then I just go over here and go to custom date format. And then instead of a number, I turn it into abbreviation. And then it's just like that. So that is all we need to then compare, because now that these are dates, we can use those in these formulas to then determine where we are in the year. We want to change this to greater than or equals to January 2024. So instead of less than, we want to do greater than or equals to. Now, this kind of works except for we want it to only be in January. And at the moment, this would take anything from January on. And so we're going to copy this part. And now I'm going to do less than or equals to. And then this month tag, I'm going to wrap in a end of month function here and do 0. And so what this is going to do, we hover over that, it's giving us 131.24. And then this is 1124. So then this is looking in inventory log, column A, everything that's greater than equals to January, and then up to everything that is less than or equals to. So that will do it for there. And then we can basically take this same thing, copy it, and do the same thing for remove. We just need to change this add to remove. And then I'm also going to add that minus for our sum ifs. That way it'll subtract. And then here in the end, I can just do a sum of our start, any add, and remove. So next, on this next start for February, I'm not going to use this formula. I'm just going to take the end from the prior month. And then I can just take the rest of these now, drag them over. and that will work just fine. So we can drag them all the way over. Now, one thing to note is this is currently going to show inventory even past today. And so we're in July right now of 2024, and this is still showing inventory for August and forward. So if you don't want it showing inventory for later than today, what you may want to do is, let's say here in February, we're going to just insert a formula. We're going to say if today, and this is a function here, so it's reference to the actual today, is greater than F5, then we'll show our end, otherwise we'll leave it blank. And so I'm going to do a $sign in front of this 5 because we're going to copy and paste these formulas down below. I'm going to go ahead and drag this across and see what happens. And so now we are in July, and so July is showing up, and so that's perfect. And so we just need to take this same functionality and bring it down. So we go down to here, for example, we're going to do it there. And then let's just add a comma at the end. And same thing here. And the same thing here. And so I'm not doing anything. If you notice, I'm doing a comma and I'm not doing anything. And so what this is saying is if today is not greater than F5, then we're going to do what's in here. And since it's blank, it's not going to do anything. Let's go ahead and copy these over. And there we go. So now it's just showing through August, since that may be a cleaner look. And so you wouldn't have to go through that extra step if you didn't want to, if that wasn't relevant. So for the year total, we're going to just take the first start here. And so this would be the year start inventory. And then we can do a sum on how much was added. And then we can just drag this formula down to total up how much was subtracted and change that back to there. And then finally in this one, we can just do a sum of these. So our ending inventory is 500. So at this point, we can just take these formulas and copy, and then we're just going to paste these down. So paste, there you can see the 1500, paste, and then I'm just going to do the keyboard shortcut to make this a little faster. So Control V, Control V. And there we go. So let's make sure this is working correctly. So let's say we have item 3 here, and let's add or subtract some inventory. Let's say add some in May, subtract some in June. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to May and item 2. Let's add some. Let's just do 250. And then in June, item 2. We're doing item 2, we're doing item 3. Item 3, remove, and let's do 300. Now if we go check, item 3, there's our 250 addition in May and our minus 300 in June. And then it shows our starting and ending appropriately. All right, so that is it for today's video. I hope that helps you to see how you can both create a simple inventory system, but then also pull that same data into an inventory report to help you quickly see where you're at with all your inventory items. So make sure to check out our other videos on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.